Something is happening to you right now. And I don't mean that in a vague, general way. I mean something specific. Something that started days ago, maybe weeks, building so quietly that you almost didn't notice it, but you felt it. A restlessness you couldn't explain. A thought that kept returning no matter how many times you pushed it away. A strange sense that something inside you was trying to surface, trying to be seen, trying to break through. And you probably dismissed it. Tell yourself it was stressful. Told yourself it was nothing, but it wasn't nothing. Because tonight, at exactly 9:45 p.m, a rare cosmic alignment reaches its peak. And what it's about to unlock inside you is something you've been unconsciously preparing for your entire life. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just astrology. It's psychology, it's ancient mythology, and most importantly, it's deeply personal. This is about a part of you that was taken away, a part you were forced to hide, a part that holds more power than you've ever been allowed to access. And tonight, you get it back. Let me explain what's actually happening in the sky right now. The sun is moving through Aries. This is your conscious self, your identity, the version of you that you know, that you show the world, that you've spent years building and refining. At the same time, Black Moon Lilith is positioned in Sagittarius. And Lilith is different. Lilith isn't a planet. It isn't even a physical object. It's a mathematical point in space, the place where the moon reaches its maximum distance from Earth. And in astrology, that distance represents something profound. Lilith holds everything that was exiled, everything that was rejected, every part of you that someone somewhere told you was too much, too intense, too emotional, too wild, too honest, the parts you learned to suppress just to survive. Tonight, the sun and Lilith form a perfect trine, 120 degrees apart, a flowing, harmonious connection between your conscious self and your shadow self. No conflict, no resistance, no struggle, just recognition. And what happens when these two parts of you finally recognize each other? That's where things get interesting. To understand what's unlocking tonight, you need to understand who Lilith actually is. In ancient texts, Lilith was Adam's first wife, not Eve. Lilith came before. She was created from the same earth as Adam, not from his rib, from the same source. We equal in every way. And when Adam demanded that she submit to him, she refused. She didn't argue. She didn't compromise. She simply said no. And when it became clear that equality would never be granted to her, she made a choice. She chose exile. She left the Garden of Eden entirely. I walked into the wilderness, and she never looked back. For this, she was demonized, turned into a monster in the stories that followed, painted as dangerous, seductive, destructive, a warning to anyone who might dare to choose freedom over submission. But here's what those stories don't tell you. Lilith didn't become a monster. She became sovereign. She became whole. She became the part of human nature that refuses to be controlled, diminished, or silenced. And that energy lives in you. It always has. The question is, what did you do with it? Most people bury their Lilith energy early, not because they want to, because they have to. Think back. When was the first time someone told you that a part of you was unacceptable, that your anger was too much, that your emotions were overwhelming, that your truth was inconvenient? Maybe it was a parent, a teacher, a friend. Maybe it was society itself sending message after message about who you were supposed to be and who you absolutely could not be. And so you adapted. You learned. You survived. You took the parts of yourself that caused problems and you pushed them down. You built a version of yourself that was acceptable, manageable, safe. But those parts didn't disappear. They went underground, into your shadow, into the place where everything rejected goes to wait, and they've been waiting ever since. Here's what most people don't realize. The shadow doesn't stay quiet. It influences everything, your patterns, your relationships, your self-sabotage, the things you can't seem to stop doing, even when you know they hurt you. That's not a weakness. That's your exiled self trying desperately to be acknowledged. And tonight, the door to that exile opens. I need you to understand why tonight is different. Shadow work is usually difficult, painful. It requires you to look at the parts of yourself you've spent years avoiding. The ego resists. The mind creates distractions. Progress is slow, hard-won, exhausting. But during a Sun-Lilith trine, that resistance dissolves. The conscious self and the shadow self aren't fighting anymore. They're flowing together, communicating, recognizing each other as parts of the same whole. This is what I call a shadow integration portal. For approximately 24 hours, the usual barriers between who you are and who you've hidden become thin, permeable, crossable. Insights that would normally take months of therapy can arrive in a single moment of clarity. Patterns you've struggled with for years can suddenly make complete sense. Emotions you've been suppressing can finally surface without overwhelming you. This doesn't mean the work is done for you. It means the work becomes possible in a way that it usually isn't. And if you're willing to step through this portal, what's waiting on the other side might change everything. But here's what makes this moment even more significant. This alignment isn't happening in isolation. It's happening in the middle of some of the most powerful cosmic weather we've seen in decades. Saturn and Neptune have just come together at 0 degrees Aries. This is a conjunction that happens once every 36 years, and it's happening at the very beginning of the zodiac, the point of ultimate new beginnings. Saturn represents structure, reality, the solid things we build our lives upon. Neptune represents dissolution, dreams, the spiritual realm, the invisible. When these two meet, old paradigms collapse, false structures dissolve. The things we thought were permanent reveal themselves as temporary. We're all feeling this. The uncertainty, the confusion, the sense that the ground beneath us isn't as solid as it used to be. And right in the middle of this dissolution, the shadow integration portal opens. Do you see why this matters? When reality itself is being restructured, the people who will thrive are the ones who are whole within themselves, who aren't fighting their own nature, who have integrated their shadow and can access their full power. The fragmented will struggle. The integration will rise. Tonight is your chance to become integrated. There's also something else happening that you need to know about. We just experienced a total lunar eclipse in Virgo earlier this month. Eclipses are not ordinary events. They function like cosmic doorways, accelerating timelines, bringing hidden things to the surface, and forcing completions that were being delayed. The Virgo eclipse specifically activated themes of perfectionism, self-criticism, and the exhausting need to fix everything. It brought up all the ways you've been trying to control your life, your image, your emotions, just to feel safe. And now, in the aftermath of that eclipse, something is settling. The dust is clearing, and what remains is a clearer picture of what actually needs to change. This Sun-Lilith portal is arriving at the perfect moment, because now you're not just integrating your shadow in a vacuum, you're integrating it with full awareness of the patterns that have been running your life. The perfectionism, the people-pleasing, the constant adjustment of yourself to meet external expectations. All of that is becoming visible, and visibility is the first step toward freedom. Jupiter has also just been stationed directly in Cancer after months of retrograde motion. This shift changes how growth is happening for all of us right now. During the retrograde, Jupiter's expansion turned inward. It asked you to examine your emotional foundations, your family patterns, your sense of home and belonging. It may have felt slower, more introspective, less outwardly productive, but now Jupiter is moving forward again, and what was being internally processed is ready to express itself externally. This adds a layer of emotional depth to tonight's portal. You're not just integrating your shadow intellectually, you're integrating it emotionally, feeling it, allowing it to move through you rather than around you. And that emotional component is what makes this integration lasting. It's not just an insight you'll forget by next week. It's a shift that anchors into your body, your nervous system, your way of being. Now, while this energy is available to everyone, there are 3 zodiac signs that will feel this most intensely. If you're an Aries, Sagittarius, or Leo, or if you have significant placements in these signs, pay very close attention. If you're an Aries, the sun is in your sign right now. This alignment is activating your first house of identity and your 9th house of truth and philosophy. You've been told your whole life to tone down your intensity, to be less aggressive, less impatient, less you. And especially with Saturn and Neptune currently in your sign, you've been feeling this strange pressure, a heaviness, a confusion about who you're supposed to be now that everything is changing, that conditioning is about to shatter. Tomorrow you may find yourself speaking truths you've held back for years, and instead of the rejection you feared, you might find that your raw honesty becomes magnetic. Your intensity isn't a flaw, it's your power, and you're about to remember that. If you're a Sagittarius, Lilith has been moving through your sign since December. You've been deep in shadow work whether you wanted to be or not. The heretic wound, the pain of being the outsider, the one who sees things differently, has been surfacing intensely. You've probably felt it as isolation, as being misunderstood, as this frustrating gap between who you really are and who people assume you to be. But tomorrow, the sun illuminates your fifth house of creativity and self-expression, and something clicks into place. Your darkness isn't something to be ashamed of. It's the source of your creative genius. The things that make you different are the things that make you powerful. And you're about to discover just how magnetic you become when you stop apologizing for being yourself. If you're a Leo, you're ruled by the sun itself. Every major solar transit affects you deeply, and this one is asking you to examine where you've been performing instead of being authentic, where you've suppressed your true desires to maintain approval, where you've dimmed your light just to make others comfortable. The exhausting performance ends here. What emerges is something far more magnetic than any performance could ever be. A presence that doesn't need validation because it's completely comfortable with every aspect of itself, including the parts you've been hiding. You're about to discover that your power doesn't come from being seen as perfect. It comes from being seen as real. But even if you're not one of these three signs, this portal is still opening for you. Everyone has a shadow. Everyone has exiled parts. Everyone has aspects of themselves that were pushed down to meet external expectations. Tonight, the barriers between your conscious self and those hidden parts become thinner than usual. The integration becomes easier. The recognition becomes possible. So regardless of your sign, I want you to ask yourself some questions. What part of me have I been hiding? What would I say if I wasn't afraid of judgment? What would I do if I wasn't trying to be acceptable? What truth have I been avoiding because it feels too dangerous to admit? These questions aren't just theoretical, they're doorways, and tonight the answers might actually come through. So what does this actually feel like when it happens? For some of you, it will be sudden clarity. A voice inside you that's been whispering will finally speak at full volume. You'll know exactly what you need to say, what boundary you need to set, what truth you need to claim. It won't feel forced or dramatic. It will feel obvious, like something you've always known but couldn't quite access until now. For others, it will feel like permission, like a weight you've been carrying. The weight of shame, of fear, of needing to be acceptable simply lifts. You'll breathe deeper, stand taller, feel more yourself than you have in years. There might be tears, not sad tears, release tears, the kind that comes when something that's been stuck finally moves. Some of you will do or say things tomorrow that you never thought you'd have the courage for. Not recklessly, not destructively, but authentically. Finally, completely authentically. You might set a boundary you've been avoiding, have a conversation you've been putting off, make a decision you've been circling around for months, or simply allow yourself to exist without apologizing for it. And here's what I need you to remember. This isn't about becoming someone new. This is about reclaiming who you've always been. The shadow isn't a foreign enemy you need to defeat. It's a part of you that was forced into hiding because the world wasn't ready for it. Because you weren't safe enough to express it. Because survival requires you to fragment. But you're not in survival mode anymore, or at least you don't have to be. Tomorrow, you get to bring the exiled parts home. There's something else I want to share with you. Something I discovered when I was researching this alignment that genuinely gave me chills. Both the Sun and Lilith are positioned at exactly 11 degrees and 20 minutes of their respective signs tomorrow. And in esoteric astrology, there's a system called Sabian symbols. These are specific images assigned to each degree of the zodiac, providing deeper symbolic meaning. When you round up from 11 degrees 20 minutes, you get the 12th degree. The Sabian symbol for the 12th degree of Aries is a triangularly shaped flight of wild geese. This image represents instinctive attunement to cosmic order. Wild geese flying in perfect formation aren't following human rules. They're following natural law, aerodynamics, seasonal rhythms, universal patterns. They're wild and aligned at the same time. The Sabian symbol for the 12th degree of Sagittarius is a flag that turns into an eagle that crows. This is remarkable. A flag represents an abstract ideal, a philosophy, something you believe in but can't quite animate. It's static. It only moves when external forces push it. But in this symbol, the flag comes alive. It transforms into a living eagle, and then it vocalizes. It announces itself. It declares its presence without hesitation. When you put these two symbols together through the trine, here's what emerges. Your shadow self has been holding the truth, a belief, a conviction that doesn't fit the mainstream. something you've known but haven't been able to fully voice. Tomorrow, that truth comes alive. It takes flight. It vocalizes without hesitation. And here's the profound part. This declaration isn't chaotic or destructive. It's perfectly aligned with natural order. You're not rebelling against the universe. You're rebelling in harmony with it. Being wild and being aligned aren't opposites. They're the same thing. As this energy continues to unfold over the next 24 hours, I want you to approach it with intention. This isn't just another day. The cosmic weather right now is not normal. We're in a once-in-decades window where reality itself is being restructured. And in the middle of that restructuring, you're being offered a chance to restructure yourself, to integrate what was fragmented, to reclaim what was exiled, to become whole in a way that gives you stability even as everything external continues to shift. The people who navigate times like this successfully aren't the ones who have all the answers. They're the ones who aren't at war with themselves, who have access to their full power because they're not using half their energy to suppress parts of who they are. Integration isn't a luxury right now, it's a necessity. And tonight, integration becomes easier than it usually is. So here's what I want you to do. Tonight, create some space. Even just a few minutes. Turn off the distractions. Let yourself get quiet. And then ask the question, what part of me is ready to come home? Don't force an answer. Just ask and then listen. Notice what arises. A memory, an emotion, a thought you've been avoiding, a truth you've been afraid to admit. Whatever comes up, don't judge it. Don't push it away. Just acknowledge it. Say to yourself, I see you. You're allowed to exist. You're part of me. This sounds simple, and it is simple, but simple isn't the same as easy. And what happens when you genuinely do this, when you genuinely acknowledge what you've been exiling, can be profound. The shadow doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to be integrated. It wants to stop being at war with your conscious self. It wants to become part of a unified whole. And when that integration happens, something shifts permanently. The things that used to trigger you lose their charge. The patterns that used to run you become visible and optional. The parts of yourself you used to hide become sources of power instead of sources of shame. This is the real transformation, not becoming someone different, but becoming someone complete. The portal opens tonight. It won't stay open forever. The exact alignment peaks at 9:45 p.m., but the energy is strongest for about 24 hours on either side. This is your window, and if you're feeling that pull, that strange sense that something inside you is ready to emerge, trust it. This isn't random. This isn't a coincidence. This is the universe offering you something rare. A moment when the hardest work becomes possible, when the longest journey becomes shorter, when the deepest healing becomes available. What you do with this moment is up to you. But whatever you choose, know that the part of you that was exiled has been waiting for this. It's been a long time, and tonight, finally, the door is open. Step through.